Great.
Well, good evening to everyone, and thanks again. I didn't expect to say anything. I just came to be a part of the group. And so again, to all of you again, first of all, I commend you for the work that you do. I'm a criminal justice major by trade. I've worked in the criminal justice system for a number of years. I work with and mentor young people, not just young people. I deal with adults, obviously, as a pastor. I serve as the president for the Saginaw African American Pastors Association, which is in our community. It's new. It's been around for a couple of years, but we're still evolving to address some of the very things that you're talking about now. And so let me just say, I salute you for the great work that you do. I know it's hard. I've been there, having to take children out of homes and having to fight for children to be put back in homes. I've served on the city foster care review board. I've served on the state foster care review board. So I clearly understand the path that you're on. And so anything that I can do, I'll make it my business to make sure that I share this type of venue with the pastors that I deal with so that we can bring more pastors to the table so that you can hear more of what we experience. Some of the things that I heard you say today, I experience those every week in church. It's not uncommon to have a grandmother in her 70s trying to take care of a 5-year-old because the daughter has abdicated her role in the family. It's not uncommon to have a grandfather physically whip his grandson because that's his traditional method of discipline, because this child has a little bit more energy than he's designed to deal with at 75. I've seen grandparents go up to schools and take their kids in the bathroom and whip them because that's the only method they know. So, I guess from my standpoint, I heard a lot of things that resonate with me. And one of the things that I think that's very clear is there's got to be some collaborative leadership, some collective leadership. And what that says, even in this era, is that we can't be intimidated to share with other people that deal with our same kids. Everything that we do now is about competition. It's about, let me see if I can get you out of business. That's the thing going on with pharmacy right now, Rite Aid and Walgreens and the other people. Everybody keeps building stores. They keep building right across. Why? Because they want to drive one out of business, when in reality, there's enough people that we can all be serviced. And so we got to get to a point where I'm not intimidated because you offer a service that I don't offer. And you do that better than I do. One of the things that I've heard all my life, and I know you've heard it, is it takes an entire village to raise a child. Well, what happens if the village is dysfunctional? And that's what we deal with right now. What happens if the services that we offer in the village are not aligned with the needs of the people in the village? What happens if the people that render the service are not trained to deal with the people in the village? And that's part of what I see and part of what I hear now. It's either because they don't care, they don't look to be there long, or it's about self-preservation. I will not burn myself out for anybody. And that's what we have going on in our communities right now. And so for me, I think one of the things that we got to do more, a friend of mine, when I was in college and we grew up together, he would always ask a question, how's the family? It was a temperature gauge to find out how my family was doing. And I don't think we do that in our communities now, because we find out that nobody's actually gauging the temperature of what we're doing for children and for families. Nobody cares. And so because of that, when you look at the bigger picture, we've got a depressed community. A lot of people are just in this state, this mindset of, if I could just get through today. They've given up on services. They've given up on hope because there are no knights in shining armor coming to help them deal with the fact that they live in a rental unit that costs them $1,000 a month, that's 70 years old, that the landlord doesn't care about. That is the best that I can do. And sometimes that anger is shown to children, is shown by the lack of care for children. And we see a lot of it in our churches. I just put a letter in the mail to a lady right now in prison, probably going to be there for the rest of her life, because you know, in a drug-induced state. She killed a guy and left his body in the apartment for 3 days. And she kept going back to get various items. But she had 2 twins that had some disabilities. And she was trying to care for them, but she was doing crack at the same time. And so for her, you know, what do you say to somebody like that, that you know they're never going to get out of jail again? Well, let's downsize that and say, what do you say to a community that's depressed and we're here to offer services? And it's really that deep in this community in some instances. What do we do now? Do we give up? Do we just kind of put it on coast to get through a career? Do we find another community? Because I promise you, it's going to be the same in that community. And so we've got to become fighting mad. We've got to collectively work together. We've got to bring people to the table that have that expertise, that see the things that we can look at and begin to address in our community. So I'm committed to that. That's my life work. I'll do whatever I have to do to improve the lives of people, no matter who they are, where they come from, because again, that's my calling. And I trust that's your calling just as well. So count me in to help you any way I can. I'm going to have some of the same dialogue with some of our clergy brothers and sisters and say, we can do more. And so we'll come to the table to do whatever we can do to help you.